Good evening and welcome to your news on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I am Shehan Ranathunga. Before we get into your news in detail, let's first take a look at your headlines.
Messi's Argentina wins the FIFA World Cup after 36 years, defeats France despite Mbappe's hat-trick.
And in 2022, the world champions are Argentina.
Investigations continue to uncover the motive and killers responsible for Dinesh Shafter's murder. Inland Revenue Amendment Act in effect from today. Monthly income of over 100,000 rupees to be taxed from January. Cabinet likely to approve electricity tariff hike. UN says 4 in every 10 households in Sri Lanka are food insecure.
Now, all eyes were on the Losail Stadium in Qatar last night as the final of the FIFA World Cup 2022 saw Argentina taking on reigning champions France in a thrilling encounter that went down to the wire. In the end, Argentina won the FIFA World Cup after 36 years, defeating France despite a brilliant hat-trick from young football sensation Kylian Mbappe. It was truly a magnificent game. Now, it's been 4 days since the brutal murder of well-known businessman Dinesh Shafter, but police have not been able to trace those responsible for the crime or to even find a motive for the killing. And the police spokesperson SSP Nihal Taldua told Newsfirst that no one has been named as a suspect for the murder and there have been no arrests made.
Businessman Dinesh Shafter was the managing director of a leading financial firm in the country and the director of one of the largest private sector insurance companies in Sri Lanka. On the afternoon of last Thursday, the 15th of December, Shafter was found strangled inside his own car with his hands tied behind his back at the Borella General Cemetery. According to his family, he died that night at the National Hospital. What have detectives uncovered regarding this mysterious murder that sent shockwaves throughout Colombo's elite circles?
We have not been able to determine who committed this murder, who planned it and how it was done. Detectives have formed small groups and are following various leads. We have not identified anyone as a suspect.
Though the criminals responsible for the crime and the motive for the murder are yet to be determined, multiple questions have arisen over this murder. According to what Dinesh Shafter's wife told the police, he had left his house located down Flower Road in Colombo 7 at 1:55 in the afternoon. Shafter was to travel overseas that night and had informed his wife that he would be back within half an hour. How is former cricket commentator Brian Thomas connected? Former cricket commentator Brian Thomas is connected based on the statement made by Krish Pereira, an executive grade officer who worked at one of Shafter's companies. It was Krish Pereira who had transported Dinesh Shafter from the cemetery to the hospital. It is also reported that at around 2:15 in the afternoon, Mrs. Shafter had sent a WhatsApp message to her husband inquiring about his time of return. However, as there was no response, she had opted to trace his phone. After discovering that the mobile phone used by Dinesh Shafter was at the cemetery in Borella, his wife had immediately contacted Krish Pereira. Investigations have revealed that Krish Pereira had told Mrs. Shafter that he obtained the data that showed that the mobile phone of Dinesh Shafter was at the public cemetery in Borella. A statement provided by Krish Pereira to the police claims that Dinesh Shafter was to meet former cricket commentator Brian Thomas. However, Brian Thomas claims that Dinesh Shafter had sent a message awaiting his arrival after 2 in the afternoon. He added that the WhatsApp message did not mention any place to meet. Brian Thomas also said that the style of English in the WhatsApp message is not the same style used by the late Dinesh Shafter. He said that he responded back via WhatsApp that there was no need to meet Dinesh Shafter. Let's revisit the hospitalization of Dinesh Shafter. Krish Pereira had visited the public cemetery in Borella based on the information given by Mrs. Shafter and had parked his vehicle halfway and proceeded on foot. He had told police that he did so due to the heavy traffic congestion experienced in the area at the time. Based on the statement provided by Krish Pereira, when he reached the car, Dinesh Shafter was found tied to the driver's seat with a wire around his neck and his hands were tied with a plastic cord to the front. He said he decided to remove the wire around the neck of Dinesh Shafter and yelled for help. Thereafter, he had moved Dinesh Shafter out of the driver's seat and placed him in the rear seat and drove to the Colombo National Hospital along with a worker from the cemetery. Dinesh Shafter was hospitalized at around 3:55 in the evening and it was the hospital police post that had notified the Borella police station about the incident. Mrs. Shafter in her statement to the police had said that she repeatedly called the mobile phones of her late husband and Krish Pereira who had visited the cemetery and there was no response from either of them. She said that eventually an unknown person answered her husband's mobile device while at the hospital and explained what had happened. Police investigations revealed that a nail scratch mark was evident on the nose of Dinesh Shafter, while another small bruise was also seen on his leg.
පැමිණි මාර්ගයේ මල්පාරේ සිට කෙලින්ම කනත්ත දක්වා පැමිණි මාර්ගය ලෙස සටහන් වෙලා තියෙන මේනෝඩ කොහොමද කියලා යම් කිසි දෙයක තහවුරු වීමක් සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවද?
Detectives have uncovered certain details, but I cannot reveal it as it would hinder the investigation. Detectives are going through all the CCTVs located along the route.
Did Dinesh Shafter drive to the public cemetery in Borella by himself? Or was his car driven by another person or group? 6 separate funerals were scheduled to take place at the cemetery in Borella on that day. Could the criminals have known of this fact beforehand. Dinesh Shafter's car was found parked close to the funeral, with the largest number of mourners in attendance on that day. Therefore, shouldn't this matter also be looked into? Can anyone commit a crime inside the public cemetery in Borella and flee? Were the criminals aware that there were no CCTV surveillance inside the public cemetery in Borella? Detectives from the Criminal Investigations Department and other investigators have been conducting their investigations to trace CCTV and other evidence from in and around the public cemetery in Borella. However, details of this crime are yet to be made public. Who killed a respected Colombo-based businessman inside the cemetery in the highly populated city of Colombo? Who wanted Dinesh Shafter dead?
Now, a restaurant owner was brutally killed when he was shot at point-blank range inside his business premises last night. Now, some of you, our viewers, may find the following footage disturbing. Your discretion is advised.
An armed man who stormed into a restaurant located at the Hangwella crossroad shortly after 10 p.m. committed the shooting. Sri Lanka police said the restaurant owner suffered serious injuries and died upon admission to the Paduka hospital. The deceased was identified as 46-year-old Mohammed Farzan, a father of 3. The motive for the murder is yet to be determined.
Crime Watch.
The driver and conductor of an SLTB bus that belongs to the Kappatipola depot were brutally assaulted with sharp weapons by 2 young men. The 2 men had been travelling on the bus from Valimada to Haputale and had committed the crime, citing that the bus did not stop at the appropriate location. The 2 SLTB employees were hospitalized and the 2 suspects were arrested.
Crime Watch.
The gold chain of a woman who was at a store in Ahungalla was snatched by a criminal and the crime was recorded on CCTV. Sri Lanka police said that the robber snatched a 25-carat gold chain. A father and son duo from Balapitiya were arrested over the crime.
සිද්ධිය සම්බන්ධයෙන් බලපිටිය ප්‍රදේශයේ පදිංචි පියෙකු හා පුතෙකු
Now, why did members of the Federation of University Teachers Association visit the magazine prison this morning? We'll bring you all those details right after this short commercial break.
News First, main sponsor.
25% for 2 months, 25.5% for 4 months. Valuable FD.
Ivan Satutin inne wiring karala. Wiring kirwe is non-polycon yodala.
For your safety and the protection of the wires used in networking and AC wiring, Eslon Polycon cable trunking.
25% for 2 months, 25.5% for 4 months. Valuable FD.
Welcome back to News First. Multiple factions allege that an attempt is being made to increase electricity tariffs through cabinet approval, disregarding the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka.
A protest took place opposite the Ministry of Power earlier today against the attempt to increase electricity tariffs. The protest was organized by trade unions and civil movements.
A cabinet paper will be produced today to increase the electricity tariff. The 8 rupee tariff for units 1 to 8 will be increased to 50 rupees. This tariff hike comes after the August 22nd tariff hike. The 10 rupee tariff for units 31 to 60 is to be increased to 55 rupees. In addition, the 16 rupee tariff for units 61 to 90 is to be increased to 60 rupees. And every unit from 91 to 120 will be increased to 65 rupees. Thereafter, all units will be increased to around 75 rupees to 80 rupees. The world fuel price has dropped since July. the price formula is a waste. We urge the cabinet paper to be withdrawn. The past 2 months recorded profits for the CEB. They are not importing coal and they want to sell the assets. They have no right to interfere with the PUCSL. They should then abolish the PUCSL via an act of parliament. They cannot increase the electricity tariff. We will take legal action.
පසුගිය අගෝස්තු මාසයේ ලංකාවේ විදුලි බිල ඉතා විශාල වශයෙන් ඉහළ දානු ලැබුවා. අඩුම එකක
The electricity tariff was increased in August this year. The lowest user experienced an increase of 264 rupees. This hike does not directly impact the electricity bill but also on goods and services that need electricity. The people are facing serious issues economically. Children are suffering from malnutrition. Parents cannot afford to buy books for their children and unemployment is on the rise. The responsibility of the government is to protect the people and not increase prices. I oppose this move.
ඉල වැඩි කිරීම නෙවෙයි. ඒ නිසා අපි පැහැදිලිවම මේ කාරණයට විරුද්ධ වෙනවා.
විශාල වශයෙන් විදුලි බිල වැඩි වෙලා කියලා අපි කියන්නේ ඇයි? මෙච්චර කාලයක් අපි ඉතාම අඩුවෙන් ගෙවලා. මෙතන තමයි ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ. අපි දීර්ඝ කාල
Why do we claim that the electricity tariff has increased? Until now, we have been paying a very less amount. If at least 80 to 90% of the actual electricity cost was charged over time, there will be no increase. Since it was not done over time, this can be seen as a large increase. Most power plants operate using diesel, naphtha or coal. The world market prices have dropped. We have to purchase coal for 6 months at once due to the monsoon weather. We are short of funds. When that happens, the burden eventually falls on the consumer.
මේ බර වෙන දාන්න දිහාවක් නැති තත්වයට අද ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. පාරිභෝගිකයට දානවා අරනකොට.
The Inland Revenue Amendment Act comes into force from today. Speaker Mahinda Abeyewardene endorsed the certificate of the Inland Revenue Amendment Bill, which was passed by a majority of votes after a debate in Parliament. How does this act come into effect? Monthly income of up to 100,000 rupees will be free from tax. The new tax regime will impose an extraordinary maximum 36% tax bracket on monthly incomes, with the lowest bracket starting at 6% for those earning over 100,000 rupees per month. A person who earns 350,000 rupees a month will be subject to all 6 tax brackets and will have to pay a tax of 52,500 rupees per month.
Now, representatives of the Federation of University Teachers Associations, or FUTA, arrived at the magazine prison in Colombo this morning. They were at the prison to look into the well-being of Vasantha Mudalige of the IUSF, who is currently in remand custody.
We were informed this morning that 4 more cases had suddenly been filed against Vasantha. This makes clear to us the government's intention. All we want from the government is justice. Release Vasantha Mudalige without any conditions.
යුක්තිය වසන්ත මුදලිගේව කොන්දේසි විරහිතව නිදහස් කරන්න.
Sri Lankan opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that due to economic difficulties, the people are compelled to sell their organs.
The Pohottua clan that led this country towards bankruptcy claims it will join with thieving elephants to build this country. They are now looking for political support. Will you allow that group of rogues to do so? Parents are using all their earnings simply to buy the school books for children. Electricity tariffs were increased and now they are trying to do it for a second time. Can the people bear this anymore? If the Rajapaksa clan tries to increase electricity tariffs again, we will march to Colombo against it. Today, people are selling their organs because they have no money. However, the leader of the country is selling the motherland, and the shadow Pohottu government is turning this country into an auction house.
The opposition leader made these comments while addressing the Rambukana electorate Balamandala meeting of the SJB.
Now in other news, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, or the FAO, warns that Sri Lanka is facing a food security crisis.
The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization said that humanitarian needs in Sri Lanka continued to rise sharply in 2022 as a result of political and economic upheaval. It also noted that Sri Lanka is facing a rapidly growing food security crisis and 1 in 4 people are already facing food insecurity. It added that 4 in every 10 households experienced a reduction in their incomes and 1 in every 2 households are currently relying on negative coping mechanisms to cope with the lack of food or money to buy it. To date, the Food and Agriculture Organization has mobilized $51,171,005 for its emergency and resilience interventions to be implemented during 2022 and 2023.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe joined the special Christmas Carol concert and carnival organized at the premises of the President's office.
The special Christmas Carol concert and carnival is organized by Sri Lanka Tourism, the armed forces and the police in the vicinity of the President's office, and it was declared open on Sunday the 18th by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The President's media unit said that the President who visited the event was cordially welcomed by the public and he engaged in friendly conversation with them. This carol service will be staged daily from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. until the 23rd of December. Palupitiya is a remote village in the Vilgamo Divisional Secretariat in the Matale district. Around 250 families call this village home, and for decades, access to clean drinking water was an issue that had gone unsolved. As a result, around 50 people from this village are currently suffering from chronic kidney disease, while dozens more have already fallen victim to it. The problem had gone unresolved for decades until it came to the attention of Gammatha. For the village, the purification plant will be set up at the village's primary school. The IDA Zoisa Trust Fund is financially supporting the project that will be carried out with the technical expertise of the Sri Lanka Navy. Several senior state officials, including Planning Director of the Vilgamo Divisional Secretariat, Dinidu Basnayaka, Vilgamo Zonal Education Director, MG Karunaratne, OIC of the Handungamuwa Police, Inspector of Police BGAS Bulanavava, Principal of the Palupitiya Primary School MG Asoka Aberatna, and the leader of the Gammatha movement Shevan Daniel joined the opening ceremony amidst rainy weather. Member of the Gammatha Savya Society in the village, Anuradisa Nayaka, was emotional in his address.
Though it has been 74 years since independence, we have been drinking water that is not clean. The sight of this water is nothing new to the Gammatha movement. We've been drinking brackish water for 74 long years. Our parents suffered and died after consuming this water. Yet, we were not given clean water. If the politicians performed their duties properly, we would have not needed to talk to the Gammatha movement and seek a clean drinking water project.
අපිට අද ගම්මැද්දට කියන්න වෙන්නේ අපිට වතුර නැහැ අපිට බොන්න වතුර දෙන්න ව්‍යාපෘතයක් හදලා දෙන්න කියලා. අවුරුදු 45කින් වෙච්ච සතුටක්. බාල පරපුරේට මගේ මහත්තයාත් මිය ගියේ වකුබඩුව අමාරුවෙන් මගේ ලොකු පුතත් මිය ගියේ වකුබඩුව අමාරුවෙන්. දැනට අවුරුදු 45ක් මේ ජනපදයේ අපි කරකිනවා. බොන්න වතුර ටිකක් නැහැ.
මගේ අයියලා තුන්දෙනෙක් මිය ගියා වකුගඩු රෝගයෙන්. මගෙත් මේ පානීය ජලය නිසා දැන් ඔපරේෂන් කරලා ඉන්නේ. එම නිසා මමත් රෝගියෙක් බවට පත් වෙලා ඉන්නේ. ඉතින් මේ කරන වැඩසටහන ගැන මම බොහොම ස්තුති වෙනවා.
Today is a truly joyous day for children and adults alike in the Palupitiya village. Gammatha is geared up to expedite the completion of this water purification plant so that the people of Palupitiya and especially its children will have a safe and brighter tomorrow.
ගම්මැද්දෙන් මේ ගමට ගමින් ගම වැඩසටහනෙන් ආවා. ඇවිල්ලා මේ තියෙන නිවාස ගැටලු පාරවල් වල ගැටලු පොදු ප්‍රවාහන ගැටලු සම්බන්ධව හොයා බැලුවා. මේ වෙනකොටත් ඒවට අපට උදව් උපකාර කරලා තියෙනවා ගම්මැද්දෙන් මේ වැඩසටහන ගැන අපේ ගමේ වගේම රටේ අපි යන තැන කතා වෙනවා.
Gammatha, for the people, by the people. Against the backdrop where the people of the country continue to suffer because of the economic crisis, Gammadda took the initiative to lend a helping hand to those who need it the most. In line with Christmas, Gammadda distributed dry ration packages to people burdened by financial difficulties across the island, and today dry ration packages were distributed in the Kilinochchi district. The program will be carried out throughout the month of December, covering all 25 districts in the country. The chief incumbent of the Mihintale Rajamaha Viharaya warned that if attention is not drawn towards solving the people's issues, the next few months would lead to something else.
All the political parties are forming alliances with the objective of serving the people. The people can also band together because it is the people who would vote. We have the mandate. Remember that from January to April, the people will start coming together. The people need to understand that we are in this crisis because of our own fault. The volcano has imploded and we need to douse it.
මේ ගිනි කන්ද දැන් පුපුරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මේක නිවන්න නම් අපිම මේක නිවා ගන්න ඕනේ. අපේ අන්දරේ මහජනතාවට දෙන පණිවිඩය මොකක්ද? මහජනතාවට කියන්නේ අවදියෙන් ඉන්න. සී කල්පනාවෙන් වැඩ කරන්න.
Venerable Dr. Valawa Hangunawave Dhammaratanathera made these comments during his visit to meet the Mahanayak of the Malwatu chapter of the Siam sect in Kandy.
News First with the people.
Crude oil prices in the world market increased earlier today compared to the price on Sunday. Brent crude oil is expected to trade at $81.95. Crude oil in the US market is expected to trace at $75.28.
Now, Thailand's military deployed warships and helicopters earlier today to try to locate 33 Marines missing after a corvette sank overnight in choppy waters in the Gulf of Thailand.
3 Navy vessels and 2 helicopters were sent to find the missing of Prachap Kirikan province, south of Bangkok, after the HTMS Sukhothai warship suffered an engine malfunction and went down just before midnight, about 20 nautical miles off the coast. An overnight rescue mission in bad weather secured 73 of the 106 people on board, the Navy said, with the remaining 33 forced to abandon ship. The Navy posted images and video footage of its Twitter account showing a group of personnel in orange vests in a black inflatable raft moving away from a ship in darkness as waves swirled around it. It was not immediately clear how many rafts had been deployed. Thailand's Navy spokesperson said that this ship, a US-built corvette in use since 1987, was hit by strong waves on Sunday, forcing it to tilt to one side before becoming flooded with seawater.
With that, we wrap up the news for tonight. But just before we leave you, we'd like to remind you that you can visit Newsfirst.lk for all these stories and more. You can also visit our Newsfirst page on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and all our social media platforms. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Shehan Radatulga. Thank you for watching and goodbye.